Meghan Markle's journey into the British royal family was far from smooth, marked by a deep struggle with the rigid protocols and centuries-old traditions that shaped every aspect of royal life. From the outset, she faced a world in which unwritten rules dictated behavior, speech, and even thought. For someone forged in the independent culture of Hollywood and accustomed to modern freedoms, these constraints felt suffocating. The palace corridors echoed not just with history, but with the persistent expectation of obedience and silence, leaving Meghan increasingly at odds with her new role. At the heart of Meghan's difficulties lay the protocols that demanded constant deference to hierarchy and tradition. Royal etiquette required her to learn and internalize countless formalities, from curtsying to the Queen to precise rules about dress codes and public demeanor. Each event was governed by script-like standards where spontaneity was not just discouraged, but often impossible. For Meghan, who had long valued authenticity and self-expression, this rigidity felt less like a structure and more like a cage, constricting the very qualities that made her unique. Another dimension of Meghan's dissatisfaction came from her feeling of being placed in a secondary position within the family. According to a well-known royal author, Meghan often described herself as a second-class princess, a phrase loaded with the frustration of being sidelined. The British monarchy's strict lines of succession and precedence meant roles were clearly delineated, leaving little room for renegotiation. Despite her marriage to Prince Harry, one of the most beloved royal figures, Meghan found herself navigating an ambiguous status that came with less privilege and recognition than expected. This perceived hierarchy extended into public life, where Meghan's engagements and appearances were meticulously scheduled and often limited compared to her in-laws. The media spotlight only intensified her sense of isolation, as every move was scrutinized through the lens of royal tradition. Her personal choices, from parenting styles to philanthropic priorities, were weighed against the conventional expectations of the institution. The tension between Meghan's modern outlook and the monarchy's conservative frameworks created a visible fissure, fueling ongoing debates about the institution's relevance. The royal family's protocols also touched on deeply personal aspects of Meghan's life. Rules governing relationships within the family dictated when and how affection could be publicly displayed, often leaving Meghan feeling socially constrained. In a world where warmth and openness are everyday human currencies, the enforced reserve of royal conduct seemed alien and cold. The emotional toll of suppressing natural expressions of excitement or frustration contributed to Meghan's increasing sense of alienation, as if she were performing a role rather than living her truth. Furthermore, the relentless scrutiny of Meghan's actions by palace aides and officials added another layer of control. Behind closed doors, she was reminded of the expectations to conform to a predefined royal image, perpetuated by generations before her. This image was polished and protected at all costs, leaving no room for deviation without consequence. For someone so vocal about empowerment and individuality, the pressure to maintain a flawless exterior was a constant source of strain and conflict. Historical precedents shed light on Meghan's plight, as previous royal consorts had also grappled with similar struggles. However, none faced the modern media environment that amplifies every detail into global headlines. Meghan's every meeting, outfit choice, and spoken word were dissected in real time, intensifying the burden of conformity. The protocols, once designed to preserve privacy and dignity, paradoxically exposed her to unprecedented levels of public scrutiny. This paradox deepened Meghan's frustration, highlighting the clash between old-world traditions and 21st century realities. Moreover, Meghan's background as an American and a commoner added complexity to her experience. She entered into an institution steeped in British history and class consciousness, where lineage and bloodlines shaped identity and influence. This cultural dissonance manifested in subtle and overt challenges as the established order resisted change and innovation. For Meghan, integrating into such a system meant constantly negotiating her values against the expectations imposed on her, a process fraught with tension and misunderstanding. Meghan's activism and desire to use her platform for social causes also came into conflict with royal restrictions. The monarchy traditionally refrains from political statements or endorsements, aiming to remain neutral and above partisan debates. Meghan's passion for progressive issues, ranging from women's rights to racial equality, clashed with this neutral stance, limiting her ability to freely express herself. The constraints dampened her voice in ways that were not only professionally frustrating, but emotionally disheartening, reinforcing the perception of being stifled within a gilded cage. Furthermore, the daily micromanaging of Meghan's public and private life by royal staff cultivated a sense of lost autonomy. Every detail of where she could go, whom she could meet, and what causes she could support was subject to approval. Over time, this micromanagement eroded her confidence and sense of agency, compounding feelings of isolation. The tight controls served the monarchy's purposes, but often left Meghan feeling more controlled than supported, emphasizing the gulf between her personal aspirations and institutional demands. Meghan's perception of being a second-class princess also intertwined with the broader issue of race and acceptance within the royal fold. As a biracial woman, she confronted prejudices, both explicit and implicit, adding layers of complexity to her struggle against protocols. The royal family's image, historically white and traditional, posed barriers not only social but psychological. Meghan's very presence challenged long-standing norms, and the resistance she encountered underscored the monarchy's difficulty in adapting to a more diverse and inclusive era. The strain of adhering to these multifaceted restrictions ultimately contributed to Meghan and Harry's decision to step back from senior royal duties. By opting for greater independence from royal conventions, they sought to reclaim control over their lives and narratives. This move signified more than a personal choice. It symbolized a broader critique of the monarchy's ability to accommodate individuality and change. The palace protocols, rigid and unyielding, had exacted a heavy price on the couple's well-being and happiness. Nonetheless, Meghan's story offers a window into the challenges faced by modern royals trying to balance tradition with contemporary values. The British monarchy, with its elaborate protocols, remains a potent symbol, but struggles to reconcile its past with the demands of today's world. Meghan's experience highlights the urgent need for flexibility and empathy within such an ancient institution. Her journey invites reflection on how royal families can evolve to support the humanity behind the titles, allowing individuals to thrive without sacrificing identity. This chapter also reveals the emotional complexity beneath the public controversies. Meghan's frustration was not rooted merely in privilege, but in a profound desire for respect, freedom, and authentic self-expression. She challenged the expectation that royal identity means relinquishing personal dreams and agency. Her story resonates with anyone who has faced conflicting loyalties between self and structure, offering insight into the cost of conformity in rigid systems. As this exploration of Meghan's battle with royal protocols unfolds, it becomes clear that her experience encapsulates tensions between tradition and transformation. The monarchy's rules, once seen as necessary and noble, can also serve as obstacles to happiness and growth. Meghan's struggle urges a reevaluation of what it means to belong within an institution that prizes history yet must survive in modernity. With this understanding in place, we turn now to the next chapter, where the focus shifts toward the media's role in shaping public perceptions and its impact on Meghan's royal journey. From the moment Meghan Markle stepped into the intricate world of British royalty, she faced an invisible wall constructed by long-standing traditions and rigid protocols. These rules dictated not only her public conduct, but also her very identity within the family. According to royal insiders, Meghan quickly became aware of her position as something less than equal, a so-called second-class princess. Such a label, although not officially recognized, left a deep mark on her psyche, evoking feelings of isolation and frustration. Royal correspondent Angela Levin has extensively examined Meghan's uneasy place within the palace hierarchy. She suggests that Meghan's outsider status was intensified by the strict adherence to protocols, which often felt stifling. The Duchess was expected to blend seamlessly within a centuries-old system resistant to change. Yet her American background and career as an actress made conforming difficult. This clash led her to resist the role she was assigned, intensifying her sense of being an outsider rather than a valued family member. Emotional turmoil characterized much of Meghan's time under royal scrutiny. Sources close to her recount moments of intense disappointment as she noticed subtle yet unmistakable differences in treatment. These were not only differences in rank, but also in opportunity and respect. Despite her public image of glamour and influence, private realities told a story of exclusion. One of the fundamental grievances was how Meghan's voice often seemed muted in decision-making, leaving her feeling invisible amid official ceremonies and family events. The psychological consequences were profound. Meghan reportedly experienced anxiety and loneliness, compounded by media pressures and the unrelenting spotlight. These emotions were fed by a royal environment that prized discretion and conformity over personal expression. Unlike other royals who were born and raised within palace walls, Meghan lacked a support system familiar with these intricate social expectations. This absence contributed to an internal dissonance, portraying her as both a part of the family and yet distinctly apart. Royal biographer Robert Lacey highlights how Meghan's struggles reflect a wider crisis of tradition versus modernity within the monarchy. He notes that the institution's reluctance to fully embrace change can alienate members who challenge established norms. Meghan's boldness in addressing uncomfortable truths was met with resistance, reinforcing her outsider label. This dynamic created a feedback loop where her desire to reform was seen as insubordination, amplifying tensions and her own sense of marginalization. Underlying these tensions was the intersection of race, culture, and status. Meghan, as a biracial woman, faced unique challenges navigating a space historically dominated by white British aristocracy. Royal observers suggest that biases, whether conscious or unconscious, may have played a role in how protocols were applied to her. Such elements added layers of complexity to her feelings of inferiority and exclusion. Her experiences sparked conversations about diversity and inclusion within one of the oldest monarchies in the world. The impact on family relations was equally significant. Reports indicate that Meghan's friction with certain senior members was fueled not just by personality clashes, but by the cumulative effect of feeling sidelined. Trust eroded when she perceived favoritism or a lack of empathy for her struggles. This emotional distance only worsened her isolation, intensifying the second-class perception. Yet despite these hardships, Meghan showed remarkable resilience, refusing to be defined solely by her limitations. Publicly, Meghan's narrative challenged the polished image of royal life. Her candid interviews and actions exposed fractures within the institution that many preferred to keep hidden. This openness invited both criticism and support, making her a polarizing figure. For Meghan, breaking silence was both a cry for help and a plea for recognition. It revealed the emotional toll of trying to navigate a world where protocols often overshadowed personal well-being. The media played a dual role in shaping her experience. On one hand, relentless tabloid scrutiny amplified every misstep, reinforcing stereotypes and biases against her. On the other hand, the public's fascination with her story highlighted disparities and sparked debates about royal traditions. This intense spotlight made it harder for Meghan to find peace or acceptance within the established order. Instead, it magnified feelings of alienation and the frustration of being caught between two worlds. Meghan's own reflections, shared through interviews and statements, underscore the human cost of carrying the second-class princess label. She described moments of profound sadness and a yearning to break free from constraints that diminished her identity. These emotions reveal a woman grappling with her place in history, trying to honor her own values while respecting the monarchy's demands. The internal battle was not just about status, but about dignity and belonging. Friends and allies saw a different side of Meghan, determined, compassionate, and fiercely protective of her family. They witnessed how the emotional burdens she bore did not diminish her strength. Instead, these challenges seemed to fuel her advocacy for change and transparency. Meghan's journey became emblematic of a broader struggle for authenticity within rigid institutions. Her story resonated with many who have felt unseen or undervalued in their own environments. The psychological strain extended beyond Meghan herself, affecting her immediate family as well. Prince Harry, in particular, appeared deeply affected by the pressures imposed on his wife and the family dynamic that ensued. His increasing frustration with palace protocols reflected a shared sense of disillusionment. Observers noted how the couple's unified front against perceived injustices amplified the emotional stakes, making their struggle both personal and institutional. Some royal commentators argue that Meghan's experience is indicative of a need for modernization within the monarchy. They view her challenges as a symptom of a broader disconnect between old-world customs and contemporary social expectations. This perspective suggests that acknowledging feelings of exclusion, such as those described by Meghan, could pave the way for meaningful reforms. However, entrenched traditions and resistance from some quarters continue to complicate these prospects. The concept of hierarchy within the royal family notably shapes daily interactions and access to opportunities. Meghan, arriving as an outsider, entered a system where rank and precedence govern everything from seating arrangements to public appearances. This rigid structure inherently creates levels of inclusion and exclusion. For Meghan, this translated into real experiences of being sidelined, fueling feelings of frustration and resentment. Understanding this context is essential to grasp the depth of her emotional struggle. Moreover, the enforcement of protocol often emphasizes spectacle over personal connection. Royal ceremonies demand perfect decorum and invisibility of personal emotions. Meghan's expressive nature and desire for authenticity frequently clashed with these expectations. The difficulty in balancing personal freedom with institutional roles added another layer to the psychological challenges she faced. This tension between individuality and tradition is a central theme in her royal story. In addition, Meghan's approach to her royal duties often challenged established norms. Her emphasis on social causes, open dialogue about mental health, and efforts to engage with diverse communities marked a departure from conventional royal conduct. While her initiatives garnered public support, some traditionalists viewed them as disruptive. This divide contributed to further misunderstandings and reinforced her sense of being an outsider, caught between competing expectations. The consequences of feeling like a second-class princess extended beyond emotions and social standing. It affected Meghan's mental health and overall quality of life. Reports suggest periods of emotional distress, sleeplessness, and even contemplation of withdrawal from royal responsibilities. Such struggles highlight the severe impact of systemic exclusion. It also underscores the importance of empathy and support for individuals navigating unique pressures within hierarchical systems. Ultimately, Meghan Markle's experience reveals the harsh realities behind the gilded facade of royal life. The weight of protocols and unspoken rules can create invisible barriers that isolate even the most visible members. Her story prompts a re-evaluation of tradition in the light of personal well-being and equality. As the monarchy faces ongoing calls for modernization, the lessons from Meghan's journey remain deeply relevant. Her narrative also challenges the public to consider the human cost of maintaining appearances at all costs. It shows how institutional rigidity can clash with evolving cultural values and individual identity. This tension resonates far beyond royal circles, touching on universal themes of acceptance and belonging. Meghan's courage in exposing these struggles has opened doors for important conversations about change and inclusivity. As her role continues to evolve outside the traditional royal framework, Meghan's story serves as both a cautionary tale and a beacon of resilience. She embodies the challenges faced by outsiders seeking to integrate into closed worlds. Her pursuit of respect and equality reflects broader societal struggles with hierarchy and exclusion. Understanding the emotional and psychological dimensions of her experience enriches the ongoing dialogue about monarchy and modern values. This exploration into Meghan's feelings and the consequences of her royal treatment sets the stage for examining the next chapter. How these hardships influenced her decisions and the eventual path she chose beyond the palace walls. The decision by Meghan Markle to step away from the traditional and rigid world of British royalty marked a profound turning point, not only in her life, but also in the public perception of the monarchy itself. Leaving behind the strict protocols and expectations that had long governed her conduct, Meghan embraced a new reality that granted her a degree of freedom previously unimaginable within the palace walls. This choice was met with a complex mix of admiration and criticism, reflecting the deeply rooted tensions between modern individualism and age-old institutions. Within the royal family, protocols dictate everything from dress codes to public behavior, leaving little room for personal expression. Meghan openly expressed her struggle with these traditions, which she found suffocating and at odds with her own values and identity. According to royal biographers, she resented feeling like a second-class princess, someone who was constantly under scrutiny, yet denied equal respect or voice. This perception of inequality within the hierarchy not only fueled her frustrations, but also galvanized her to redefine her role on her own terms. Public reaction to Meghan's departure was polarized. On one hand, many applauded her courage to reject a system that seemed outdated and inflexible. Advocates for personal freedom and mental health praised her for prioritizing her well-being over institutional expectations. On the other hand, royal loyalists and traditionalists viewed her actions as a betrayal, fearing the erosion of centuries-old customs that symbolize continuity and national unity. This division sparked intense debates in media outlets, social platforms, and everyday conversations, highlighting how the monarchy remains a contested symbol in modern society. Post-royalty, Meghan and Prince Harry embarked on a new chapter characterized by independence and self-reinvention. They formalized their separation from official duties and financial support, choosing instead to pursue philanthropic projects, media deals, and personal ventures. This transition was not only a financial challenge, but also an emotional journey toward establishing a new identity freed from royal expectations. Their move to another continent symbolized a physical and metaphorical distance from the confines of their former lives. In redefining her public image, Meghan harnessed her platform to focus on advocacy and storytelling. She engaged in initiatives related to gender equality, mental health awareness, and racial justice, leveraging her fame to spotlight issues often sidelined within royal discourse. This shift allowed her to redirect attention from royal protocol controversies to humanitarian causes, reflecting her commitment to making an impact beyond titles and pageantry. Her media appearances and interviews offered candid insights into the pressures she faced, making her narrative resonate with audiences worldwide. Despite newfound freedom, Meghan's journey was far from seamless. She encountered persistent scrutiny and negative press, often intensified by sensationalist reporting that questioned her motives and character. This media environment underscored the challenges of living a public life beyond the protective and restrictive structures of royalty. Meghan's experience brought to light the costs of breaking away from deeply entrenched systems, illustrating how freedom can coexist with vulnerability and public judgment. The psychological toll of her decision became apparent through her openness about struggles with mental health, including discussions on anxiety and depression. By sharing these personal challenges, Meghan contributed to destigmatizing mental health conversations globally. Her transparency encouraged others facing similar difficulties to seek help, demonstrating the power of vulnerability as a form of strength. These revelations further humanized a figure often portrayed through polarizing lenses, fostering empathy among supporters and critics alike. Meghan's departure from the monarchy also prompted introspection within the royal family. It exposed the institution's limitations in adapting to contemporary values and highlighted areas needing reform, particularly regarding diversity and inclusivity. Calls for modernization increased as the public witnessed the discomfort and discord behind palace doors. This moment served as a catalyst for conversations around how the monarchy might evolve to remain relevant in a rapidly changing world. Financial independence became another critical aspect of Meghan and Harry's post-royal lives. Free from reliance on public funds, they forged partnerships in media and philanthropy, including multi-million-dollar deals with streaming platforms and foundations. These ventures provided resources to support their charitable work and family, underscoring their commitment to self-sufficiency. However, this shift also drew criticism from those who saw it as mercenary or inappropriate for former royals, adding complexity to their public image. At the heart of Meghan's narrative is a powerful story of identity and self-determination. Rejecting a system that constrained her, she sought to define success and happiness on her own terms, prioritizing her family and values over tradition and spectacle. This choice represents a broader cultural movement where individuals challenge established norms to create authentic lives. Meghan's story thus resonates as both unique in its royal context and universally relatable in its human aspirations. The global impact of Meghan's story is evident in how it reshaped conversations about race, gender, and power within highly visible institutions. As a biracial woman, her experiences illuminated the persistent challenges of inclusion within royalty and other elite circles. Advocates for diversity pointed to her journey as a wake-up call for entrenched establishments to address systemic biases. These dialogues continue to influence not only the British monarchy, but also broader societal attitudes toward equality and representation. Through all these transformations, Meghan and Harry have continued to evolve as partners and parents. Their decision to prioritize family unity and well-being over tradition highlights changing values in contemporary relationships, where emotional health and personal choice take precedence. Their new lifestyle blends public engagement with private life in ways unprecedented for former senior royals, reflecting modern approaches to fame and responsibility. The long-term consequences of Meghan's break from royal life remain unfolding. While she has gained autonomy and a global platform, the costs and challenges they face underscore the complexity of stepping away from an institution so steeped in history. Their story illustrates the delicate balance between personal freedom and public expectation, shedding light on what it means to forge one's path in the midst of intense scrutiny. As Meghan transitions away from the shadows of royal protocol, her journey invites reflection on resilience and reinvention. It challenges audiences to consider the price of conformity and the value of authenticity, especially within the confines of tradition. Her experience serves as a powerful testament to the courage required to step into the unknown and the possibilities that await beyond familiar walls. Looking ahead, Meghan's evolving role in philanthropy, media, and advocacy promises to continue shaping her legacy outside the palace. Her story is far from over, offering ongoing insights into identity, purpose, and the quest for freedom in a world that often demands conformity. This passage from royalty to independent public figure marks a significant chapter not only in her life, but in the broader narrative of modern royalty and personal empowerment. Now, as we turn to explore the personal reflections and future aspirations that define Meghan's ongoing transformation, it becomes clear that her story is as much about hope and renewal as it is about departure. The challenges she faced and the choices she made set the stage for a new kind of royalty, one defined not by inheritance, but by intention and courage.